Hello everyone. Today I will be featuring something entirely new. The upcoming Tier 10 French battleship Bourgogne? Bon Jovi. That's what we're gonna call it from this point on. This is now the Bon Jovi. Now, if this ship looks like the Alsace, it's because it's practically a Tier 10 Alsace. The slightly smaller hull of a Tier 9 battleship is obviously an advantage at Tier 10, since large size is a disadvantage in World of Warships for obvious reasons. Easier to hit, easier to torp, blah blah blah. The smaller tonnage and size comes with some obvious drawbacks though, namely the health pool. At 74.7k health, the Bon Jovi is by far the lowest health Tier 10 battleship. The only one who comes even close is the Conqueror at 82.9k health. But the Conqueror, of course, has that amazing concealment, and it's got that infamous Royal Navy super heal, something that this ship certainly does not have. In fact, the Bon Jovi heal is stock standard. And because these standard heals scale based on max health, since they are percentage based, it's also the lowest healing one out of all of its competition. So, for example, if a Republic pops a heal, it can heal for 15.5k health, but the Bon Jovi only heals for 12.5k health. And of course, when you have 5 of these heals, the number naturally adds up quite fast. The ship does have a very solid torpedo belt. Even running the speed boost module instead of that damage control mod 1 that you usually run on battleships, it sits at an impressive 44% torpedo belt. The only Tier 10 battleship that has a better torpedo belt than this one is the Yamato, and I think Yamato has like 56 or something, but it beats all the other competition. Of course, on the flip side, having a smaller hull naturally also means better concealment, and the Bon Jovi follows this pattern. The ship rocks a 12.6 kilometer concealment with the full stealth build, which I usually recommend, and this is very competitive for Tier 10. The only one able to beat this concealment is naturally the Conqueror with its insane 11.8 km concealment, but the rest of the Tier 10 competition all sits at around 13.5. They're somewhere between 13.4 and like 13.6 or so, but they're pretty much all in the rest of the pack, so to say. And a brief thing worth mentioning. Because the ship has lower caliber guns, 380mm guns, I'll get into those more later, the smoke firing penalty of the Bon Jovi is actually only 15.4 km, the best at Tier 10. Now, this benefit is obviously very small in actual gameplay because 15.4 km concealment is still massive, but there are some quite unique situations where you're shooting through a choke point that's smoked up or something similar, and there happens to be no one nearby, and you can shoot targets far away without being spotted. It does happen, but it's quite rare, but it's a small advantage worth mentioning. Now, the air spotting of the ship exceeds 11 kilometers, just like all the other Tier 10 battleships, so it's not really worth mentioning. For those that don't understand why I don't think it's worth mentioning after this point, is because the plane spotting range, meaning the max distance at which a plane can see, anything, is 11 kilometers. So it doesn't matter if you have 11 kilometer air spotting or 13 kilometer air spotting, a plane at 11 kilometers will still spot you at the same time. So these things make absolutely no difference at all. So now you're probably wondering, what exactly is the big deal with this ship? The big deal with this ship is the guns. The ship wields an impressive array of 3x4 380mm guns, and running the 3 million reload upgrade, you can cut this down to a 24.6 second reload. Combine that with 1.8 Sigma, 24.8k range, which is, oh by the way, that Sigma is better than Alsace's pre-nerf Sigma, and you have a pretty terrifying ship, as you can probably see. Add in the main battery reload booster, which allows you to cut your reload time in half for 30 seconds, and we have something of a shell monster on our hands. And of the turret traverse, with the French special captain that improves expert marksman a bit, you sit at 33.6 seconds of turret traverse, which is of course extremely good for a Tier 10 battleship. Now, those familiar with the Alsace and the Richelieu should feel very comfortable with these guns. They are the same 830 meters per second shell velocity guns with the exact same damage, the exact same 36% fire chance. But of course, having 12 of these guns with the improved Sigma, with the faster reload, and of course with the potential of popping that reload booster with the consumable, is what makes these so scary. Now, unlike most tier 10 BBs, switching ammo type is exceptionally important on this ship. Because I mean, with 380mm guns, even 27mm armor is enough to bounce your AP. So you need to know when to switch to HE and when to punish anyone trying to angle against you. Now, trust me, the HE is plenty punishing. If an enemy ship makes the mistake of repairing a fire too soon, a reload boosted Bon Jovi will quickly follow it up with multiple fires. The AA on the ship is actually closer to the Alsace than to the Republic, which probably isn't too surprising considering which hull we're talking about here. Now, if you're hoping for an AA monster, you're probably looking at the wrong ship. Now, although most of the AA DPS is focused on the 100mm guns, which is the long range aura, manual AA can probably enhance it quite a bit, but it's still not going to be anything super special. And of course, naturally, building a battleship for AA these days is pretty questionable, especially if the ship isn't uniquely suited for it. You might note, by the way, that I'm eating quite a bit of damage here. Even when angled, I eat a lot of pens, I eat a lot of HE, and that is of course because the armor on the ship is the classic French battleship armor, meaning the ship is practically coated in 32mm armor everywhere, leaving it extremely vulnerable to 460mm overmatch, aka Musashi Yamato, as well as HE spam from practically every single source. The turtleback is the French variant, meaning it's far from citadel proof. This combined with the low HP pool means that a mispositioning Bon Jovi at tier 10 can quite easily be heavily punished, especially by the new monster HE threats like the Harugumo or the Wooster. However, it does have something to help it significantly in these situations besides the concealment, and that is the speed. That's another one of the selling points of this ship. This ship has incredible speed. Now, with the speed flag alone, this ship does 33.6 knots. Yes, that is already the fastest tier 10 battleship. But then you add in the speed boost, especially if you use the module like I'm using to increase the duration, you can to a pretty massive 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Then you can push that speed by an additional 15% for 4.5 minutes. And you can reach a pretty much frankly insane 38 knots of speed. And that is faster than most cruisers in the game. I mean, you can literally even outrun the Harugumo and the gearing. You're faster than both of them. Of course, if the gearing runs speed boost instead of defensive AA, then he can catch you. But other than that, the speed is insane. By far the fastest battleship in the game. Speaking of maneuverability though, it does come with Alsace's turning circle of 910 meters. And with a 16.6 second rudder shift. Neither of which are particularly good, especially considering it's a smaller battleship than all its competition, being almost as clumsy as they are is not exactly that flattering. The speed, however, and the competitive concealment does greatly alleviate all the issues with the low HP and the thin armor, and it allows you to escape nasty situations, and it allows you to reposition quite aggressively and honestly quite easily on the map as well. Obviously you have to recognize the situations and get out in time. Ultimately though, the ship seems very strong. Perhaps a bit too strong? I'm worried about the main battery reload booster. Letting a ship with this firepower reload in 10 seconds just leads to some absolutely insane situations, as the broadside it's capable of pumping out is terrifying at pretty much all ranges. Now, the turrets are rather squishy, and they do break quite often, but I'm not sure if that's really enough of a balancing factor. It's absolutely stupid fun to play though. It's squishy, but it's fast, it packs a massive punch, it's a joy to play. The ship performs great in both randoms and arms race, although the low caliber means that it's probably quite unlikely to gain too much traction in any sort of competitive play, since people usually angle quite consistently well in those situations. Although with the utility of the reload booster and the addition of the Stalingrad creating crossfires, you never know. I wouldn't hold my breath though. Ultimately though, fun ship, very strong ship, maybe a bit too much. I do hope though that if they do balance the ship wargaming, please don't touch the Sigma. Reliable guns are fun guns. If you're going to change anything, fiddle with the consumable. For those that don't know, on the Jean Bart, they recently, instead of nerfing the reload booster, they nerfed the Sigma, which is not the kind of approach I'm hoping for here. If you're gonna balance anything, go for the gimmick, don't go for the ship itself, because inconsistent ships are very, very frustrating. Anyway, that was my first impressions on the Bon Jovi, or Bourgogne. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you guys later.